testifying about false business records and said this.
President Trump is a friend, and I wanted to be here to support him.
That means Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who is a Southern Baptist and publicly uses his religion to defend and explain everything he does and says, has now proclaimed himself to support a friend who, as Johnson's religion would describe it, committed adultery with Stormy Daniels and then arranged to pay off Stormy Daniels and then arranged to create false business records to cover up his payoff to Stormy Daniels. Mike Johnson, who uses his religion as both a sword and a shield every day, brought not just himself, but the full weight of the Republican Party to a microphone today to declare his support for, and the party's support, for everything Donald Trump is accused of in this trial, because here is what Speaker Johnson did not say today. I don't believe Stormy Daniels. In fact, Speaker Johnson didn't say a word about Stormy Daniels. Speaker Johnson did not attempt to deny a single word of the evidence that has been presented against Donald Trump. And that leaves Speaker Johnson supporting Donald Trump no matter what Donald Trump did sexually with Stormy Daniels or what Donald Trump did criminally with Michael Cohen.
President Trump is a friend, and I wanted to be here to support him.
That is the profoundly perverted depth to which Donald Trump has personally pushed the most overtly religious Speaker of the House in history. No other Speaker has ever worn and wielded his religion as his professed guide in every single thing that he does, in every single vote, and in everything he says. Religiosity is to Mike Johnson what vulgarity is to Donald Trump. It is the essence of the man. And so, in supporting his friend Donald Trump today, Mike Johnson unwittingly destroyed the facade of his own political religiosity. As Mike Johnson was debasing himself at the courthouse today, Michael Cohen was asked, quote, "Was this check stub a false statement?" Answer, yes, ma'am. Michael Cohen repeatedly said, yes, ma'am, to prosecutor Susan Hoffinger, who asked him about all of the checks he received from Donald Trump as reimbursement for Michael Cohen's payment of $130,000 to Stormy Daniels. Each of those reimbursements to Michael Cohen, each of them was mislabeled as being for legal services rendered instead of as a simple reimbursement, which is what they really were. Michael Cohen's testimony fully delivered all of the elements of the false business records charge in the district attorney's indictment of Donald Trump. And Michael Cohen's testimony also delivered the necessary evidence to prove that Donald Trump's decision to order the payoff to Stormy Daniels was to save his presidential campaign, not to save his marriage. At the direction of was the key phrase that we all read 6 years ago in the federal indictment of Michael Cohen for an illegal Trump campaign contribution in that payment to Stormy Daniels for the benefit of candidate Trump and the Trump campaign. The indictment and Michael Cohen's guilty plea said that he made that payment, quote, at the direction of individual one. Individual one turned out, of course, to be Donald Trump. Michael Cohen used that phrase today on the witness stand under oath to describe that he made the payment, quote, at the direction of Donald J. Trump and for the benefit of Donald J. Trump. The surprise of the day was cross-examination. There were two surprises. One, Donald Trump's lead defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, had nothing. One of our guests tonight, Tim O'Brien, predicted to me that Todd Blanche's cross-examination would be terrible. He was right. Todd Blanche did not score a single relevant point against Michael Cohen. The other big surprise was that Michael Cohen maintained his poise and reasonable tone that he established in direct examination by the prosecutor that few of us expected Michael Cohen to be able to maintain under the stress and challenges of cross-examination. But Todd Blanche presented no challenges. He tried to wake up the jury with his first question. Todd Blanche, Mr. Cohen, my name is Todd Blanche. You and I have never spoken or met before, have we? Michael Cohen, we have not. Question, but You know who I am, don't you? Answer, I do. Question, as a matter of fact, on April 23rd, so after the trial started in this case, you went on TikTok and called me a crying little shit, didn't you? Answer, sounds like something I would say. But the jury already knew that Michael Cohen doesn't like Donald Trump anymore. So it came as no surprise to them that Michael Cohen, who has already testified to being profane, might say something about Donald Trump's lawyer like that. The only person who needed waking up in that room today was Donald Trump, whose eyes remained closed by my observation for about 90% of the day. This is wildly beyond what we've seen before. It is impossible for Donald Trump not to be asleep during some of his long, extended, eye-closing sessions, including Michael Cohen's cross-examination. Donald Trump has insisted, after first being caught sleeping, that he is not sleeping. He is just resting his eyes. But no eyes need to be rested the entire day, even 77-year-old Trump eyes. And Donald Trump, who is so aware of everything his face is doing when, for example, taking a mugshot or being on public display in any way, leaves his face with his eyes closed, in tortured, elderly shapes when he drifts off into his closed eye space. His mouth shifts from its preferred scowl to the look of a collapsing old building. The mouth loses all shape. The lips become unrecognizable by the wrinkled curves that they take under those closed eyes that stay closed today longer than they have ever stayed closed in that courtroom. More than 10 minutes at a time. The old man sitting there in the defendant's chair, head tilted back to the right, eyes closed, made it look like a trial at a nursing home. If he were found like that in his chair at a table in the nursing home during lunch, he would be immediately checked for signs of life. His lawyers have just given up on trying to keep Donald Trump awake. The trick that seemed to work so well yesterday, giving him printed comments full of praise about him to read, didn't work today. Nothing worked, especially the Trump defense. Todd Blanche has tried and will continue to try to use Michael Cohen's own public words to emphasize how much Michael Cohen hates Donald Trump. But the problem with that, with an American jury, is that Michael Cohen is speaking for at least 100 million people in America. At least a third of the country, and some days maybe half of the country, hates Donald Trump as much as Michael Cohen does. No juror is going to be shocked that Michael Cohen hates Donald Trump. They all know people who hate Donald Trump, as do most Americans. What the prosecution was able to do was tell the story effectively through Michael Cohen's testimony about how Donald Trump and Michael Cohen committed crimes together and how that destroyed Michael Cohen's life, leaving Michael Cohen with more reason than most Americans to hate Donald Trump. I will always protect Mr. Trump, said Michael Cohen in a statement, written statement to the media in the second year of Donald Trump's presidency that was introduced in evidence today. And that's when Michael Cohen was, quote, knee-deep into the cult of Donald Trump. Cult member Michael Cohen was stunned when the FBI knocked on his door to serve a search warrant in an investigation begun by our first guest tonight, former federal prosecutor Andrew Weissmann. Michael Cohen spoke to Donald Trump on the phone after the FBI raid on April 9th, 2019. And according to Michael Cohen's testimony today, Donald Trump told him, quote, don't worry, everything is going to be fine. I am president of the United States. That turned out to be the last time Michael Cohen spoke to his cult leader. Michael Cohen testified today, I felt reassured. I had the president of the United States protecting me. And then came the messages from Donald Trump, some of them direct communication, indirect communications through others, which Michael Cohen testified he took to mean, don't flip. Donald Trump was paying Michael Cohen's legal fees then in a joint defense agreement with Michael Cohen when Michael Cohen was getting the don't flip message. It was 11:30 a.m. in the courtroom when Michael Cohen said, don't flip. And at that moment, the trial took on the familiar tone of a mafia trial. Michael Cohen was concerned that Robert Costello, a lawyer who wanted to defend him in the FBI investigation, would not represent Michael Cohen's best interests. Michael Cohen testified that Attorney Costello, who used to work with Rudolph Giuliani, wanted to establish a back channel, what he called a back channel, from Michael Cohen through Robert Costello to Rudy Giuliani to Donald Trump in the White House. Michael Cohen wanted to be able to talk to his own defense lawyer without necessarily telling Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump everything that he told his lawyer. And an email to Michael Cohen trying to convince him to maintain that back channel of communication, Attorney Robert Costello wrote, "You are loved," with the Trumpian oddity of the word love in the email being in quotation marks. One of those odd use of quotation marks you see in Donald Trump tweets and posts. Question, what did you understand Mr. Costello to mean by "you are loved"? By whom? Answer, by President Trump. And that's what Michael Cohen always wanted. Donald Trump's respect, Donald Trump's admiration, Donald Trump's love. But by then, Michael Cohen probably knew that Donald Trump is incapable of love. And luckily for Michael Cohen, his family was capable of love, even after the horror that they experienced of an FBI raid that Michael Cohen brought into their family home. Michael Cohen's wife and his daughter, then in college, and his son, then in high school, did something of an intervention on Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen testified that it was conversation with his family that made him decide that it was time to escape the Trump cult. Question, by that time, in late August of 2018, what, if anything, had you decided about whether you would continue to lie for President Trump? Answer, I made a decision based on the conversation that I had with my family. I would not lie for President Trump any longer. Question, if not for the campaign, Mr. Cohen, would you have paid that money to Stormy Daniels? Answer, no, ma'am. Michael Cohen said that the day he pleaded guilty was, quote, the worst day of my life. Donald Trump issued a tweet that day aimed at Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen told the jury that today that when he testified to Congress about paying off Stormy Daniels and being reimbursed by Donald Trump and showing Congress the actual checks used to reimburse him, quote, I apologize to Congress, I apologize to the country, I apologize to my family. The final question the prosecutor asked Michael Cohen before handing him over for cross-examination was, question, Mr. Cohen, do you have any regrets about your past work and your association with Donald Trump? Answer, I do. Question, what are they? Answer, I regret doing things for him that I should not have, lying, bullying people in order to effectuate a goal. I don't regret working at the Trump Organization because, as I expressed before, some very interesting, great times. But to keep the loyalty and to do the things that he had asked me to do, I violated my moral compass, and I suffered the penalty, as has my family. And so, in careful, thorough description through question and answer, Michael Cohen's story contained the classic arc of tragedy. Michael Cohen, whose father was a Holocaust survivor, made the long and unlikely climb all the way up to a meeting with the President of the United States in the Oval Office. He stood there that day in the White House, floating high up in the thinner air with the title Personal Attorney to the President of the United States. He reached an altitude he never thought he could reach. But there he was, in the Oval Office, reaching that high altitude, a higher altitude than his father could have dreamed for his son, or Michael Cohen could have dreamed for himself. Question, while you were visiting the White House, did you have a private conversation with then President Trump? Answer, I did. Question, first, where did the conversation take place? Answer, in the Oval Office. Question, did you discuss in the Oval Office the reimbursement payments that were going to be made to you? Answer, yes, ma'am. Question, can you tell the jury a bit about that conversation? Answer, so I was sitting with President Trump and he asked me if I was okay. He asked me if I needed money and I said, no, all good. He said, because I can get a check. And I said, no. I said, I'm okay. He said, all right, just make sure you deal with Alan. Question, did he say anything about anything would be forthcoming? Answer, excuse me, did he say anything about what would be forthcoming to you? Answer, yes. It would be a check for January and February. Question. And so at that point in time, you had not yet been reimbursed for the payments that you made to Stormy Daniels. Answer, no, ma'am. And so when Michael Cohen is played by a great actor, you will feel sorry for him. If you were in the courtroom today, you could, for the first time, begin to understand him. After this break, Adam Klasfeld, Tim O'Brien, and Andrew Weissman will join us.
Make your first move with battery power made by Steel. Right now, save $50 on select AK System battery tool sets. Real Steel. Find yours.
Nothing dims my light like a migraine. With Nurtec ODT, I found relief.
The only migraine medication that helps treat and prevent all in one.
To those with migraine, I see you.
For the acute treatment of migraine with or without aura and the preventive treatment of episodic migraine in adults. Don't take if allergic to Nurtec ODT. Allergic reactions can occur even days after using. Most common side effects were nausea, indigestion, and stomach pain.
It's time we all shine. Talk to a healthcare provider about Nurtec ODT from Pfizer.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Connect with a provider today at ro.co/20.
When I was diagnosed with HIV, I didn't know who I would be.
But here I am, being me.
Keep being you and ask your healthcare provider about the #1 prescribed HIV treatment, Biktarvy.
Biktarvy is a complete one-pill, once-a-day treatment used for HIV in many people, whether you're 18 or 80. With one small pill, Biktarvy fights HIV to help you get to undetectable and stay there, whether you're just starting or replacing your current treatment. Research shows that taking HIV treatment as prescribed and getting to and staying undetectable prevents transmitting HIV through sex. Serious side effects can occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Rare, life-threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. Do not take Biktarvy if you take dofetilide or rifampin. Tell your healthcare provider about all the medicines and supplements you take if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis. If you have hepatitis B, do not stop taking Biktarvy without talking to your healthcare provider. Common side effects are diarrhea, nausea, and headache.
No matter where life takes you, Biktarvy can go with you. Talk to your healthcare provider today.
Your calling. Some people find theirs at an early age, others later in life. No matter when you find it, consider yourself lucky, because it becomes your everything. Our calling was to build trucks, and that's why trucks are what we do. We put our everything in every truck, so that when you find your calling, nothing can stop you from answering it.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate, so I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's extra strength, high absorption magnesium helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Chris Counihan for Leaf Filter, the permanent gutter solution that protects your home in so many ways. It takes more than one Chris to explain it.
But together, I think we've got this job covered.
Like Leaf Filter has your gutters covered.
Protecting you from getting up on this thing to clean out your gutters ever again.
You know how else Leaf Filter protects your home?
With our lifetime transferable no clogs warranty.
We'd be glad to come out for a free, no-hassle inspection.
To schedule your free inspection, call 833-LEAF-FILTER today or visit leaffilter.com.
HomeAglow just cleaned my entire house for $19. Seriously, $19. They showed up right on time and did my dishes, my laundry, they even cleaned my windows. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19. I love using Home Aglow, and I think you will too.
I can feel the winds of change.
Get the latest updates on the presidential race with How to Win 2024. Listen, read, and watch to get insightful analysis by political insiders who know what it will take to win this critical election. Listen, read, and watch How to Win 2024. As former President Donald Trump's criminal trial continues, with more testimony from key witnesses. Watch, read, and listen for the latest analysis of Trump on trial. Stay with MSNBC.
Michael Cohen on the witness stand this morning. Prosecutor, why, in fact, did you pay that money to Stormy Daniels? Michael Cohen, to ensure that the story would not come out, would not affect Mr. Trump's chances of becoming president of the United States. Question, if not for the campaign, Mr. Cohen, would you have paid that money to Stormy Daniels? Answer, no, ma'am. Question, at whose direction and on whose behalf did you commit that crime? Answer, on behalf of Mr. Trump. Andrew Weissmann is with us, Tim O'Brien, Adam Klasfeld. The audience knows them all. We don't have time for your 30-second introduction tonight, but
skip that.
Yeah, no. But we're starting with you because the most important thing in terms of what we saw today is when, as a former federal prosecutor, when Robert Mueller brought you into the Mueller investigation, you discovered this $130,000 somewhere in that massive investigation about the question of, did Russia interfere with the American presidential election?
Totally fortuitous. I recount this. This is public because, and I went through pre-publication review. It's in my book, and it was very fortuitous. We were looking at this bank account for other reasons, and a defense lawyer who had the information said, I'm just going to send it to you. And I remember pulling it up on my computer screen, and there was the information that we were focusing on. And at the bottom of it, the bank reported something separate, which was this Essential Consulting $130,000 to Keith Davidson, which was sort of odd, but it had struck the bank as odd, so it got reported. And the
bank reported the odd transaction.
Exactly. Ooh. And so just fortuitous, we did some digging on sort of Keith Davidson. I remember my colleague Jeannie Rhee and I sort of looked up sort of like what's a Stormy Daniels, and walking into Bob Mueller's office.
He knew. Mueller knew who Stormy Daniels was.
Yeah, no. So we're all buttoned up, federal prosecutors in blue suits and white ties and very square. And I remember I said to him, "We have a blue dress problem," referring to the last special counsel was actually an independent counsel who we very much did not want to be. And we didn't want to emulate that as a model. And so that led to our keeping the Michael Cohen part of the investigation involving Russia and what ended up being his perjury to Congress, but carving out the sort of salacious part. But we were already thinking, what were the representations to the bank? We were thinking about campaign fraud, but that was out of our remit because it wasn't directly related to Russia. And so that was the genesis. And then kudos to the Southern District of New York. And then ultimately the kudos are to Alvin Bragg. Because walking in the other day to court and seeing from this little fortuitous acorn, seeing proof that is, in my view, truly overwhelming. But for the defendant being Donald Trump, I think anybody in the business would say, this is an incredibly strong case. You never, ever predict with a jury because you just never know, but this is an incredibly strong case.
Yeah, we've all been in the courtroom a lot all week. But for you, I have to say, it's got to be so peculiar because you have found little seeds like that in the past in your investigative capacity that have become trials and major trials, but they were your trials in federal courts. They grew up exactly where they were supposed to grow, from seeds into the flowering of a trial. Here you are. It fell out of federal court. It's a completely different jurisdiction. It's years later. You had reason to think that you were never going to see trial testimony about what you discovered.
Absolutely. This is, one of the things that a good investigator does is you keep digging. And for everything that you dig for, there are a lot of dry holes. And that is where good prosecutors and, more important, really good investigators, agents on a case are so important. I always say, a prosecutor is only as good as the agents they're working with, and they just need to be a dog with a bone and go down all of those leads. And you really see that here. I mean, my hat's off to the prosecution team here. I just think as a matter of sort of looking at it with a professional eye, the arc of how they have put this case together is amazing. That's not to take anything away from the individual witnesses and how, the credit they get in terms of handling this enormous pressure. And the final point is, I can't stress enough, having done high-profile cases, but not high-profile like this one, it is very difficult when there is that searing spotlight on you. And as I have said, it brings out every flaw you have as a lawyer and a person. And it's, I think people sort of forget how much pressure is on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of flaws of a lawyer, Tim O'Brien, who literally wrote the book about Trump businesses and record keeping and all that sort of stuff and lying about his wealth level, which got you sued by Donald Trump, a lawsuit that he lost, you won. Tim O'Brien, in the recess just before cross-examination started, offered me a bet. You wanted to bet me that Todd's cross-examination would be terrible. And we didn't bet because I'm not a bettor, but I also liked your side of the bet better. I had not seen enough of all three of these lawyers to have the view that you have, which is he's the least, the charitable way to put it is he's the least effective in the courtroom. You were harsher than that when we spoke about it.
Yes.
So you saw this coming.
I was sitting in the courtroom, and I saw you studying your phone, and I needed some lunch money. Right. And so I said, I'll go over and maybe see if I can get some money from Lawrence, because you've forgotten more than I know. So it's not like I think you're an easy mark. But I said, I'll bet you $5 that Todd Blanche blows the cross. And you said, I'm not going to bet that because I actually hope he does. And so we didn't make the bet. Before coming to watching this trial, I had no idea about Todd Blanche or O'Neill Beauvais or Susan Necheles. Though I think Susan Necheles came to the court with a great reputation at a distance. I knew nothing about the other two. And I think from the very beginning, the first time I saw him in action after jury selection was arguing why Donald Trump didn't violate the gag order. And in very short order, Judge Merchan, who I think is a impeccable justice, he's even-tempered, he runs a tight court, and he gave him a warning about, 10 seconds into his defense of Trump on the gag order and said, you're losing credibility in front of this court and you're losing credibility as a lawyer. And I feel like that has hung over him from the very beginning of the proceedings. And every time I think he's stepped up to make an argument, he is just not as polished as Beauvais or Necheles are. He lacks, I think, a narrative ability to thematically lay out an argument for a jury. And I think in front of a jury, you're doing many things, but two of the important things is you're either building someone up or you're taking them down. And when it came to having to do a cross-examination of Michael Cohen, who I think had been a stellar witness for the prosecution a day and a half prior to Todd
And
Blanche.
just for you, how surprised were you at Michael Cohen as a witness, at his poise?
I was very surprised, having seen him. I think he was a.
You know him better than any of us.
Well, I thought he was a. Michael is a nut. He's a volatile guy. Yeah, he can be. And I think in the civil case, in a courtroom that I think was much more of a clown rodeo than this one. I don't think Judge Engoron ran a tight courtroom like Justice Merchan does. So I anticipated some of the traits that were in the civil case would bleed into this. But from the beginning, I was amazed at how temperate he was. He hit every point that the prosecution needed him to hit. President Trump told me to do this. No, these weren't legal expenses. It was hush money payments. Yes, we were all worried about the impact on the election. Those were sort of the key things, and he kept coming back to those. He sometimes corrected or reminded the prosecutors of what the full, robust version of the question should be. He was terrific. And for a jury that doesn't know his history, they've got a lawyer up there who worked for Donald Trump who's telling a very good story. So Todd Blanche, I think, had to come in here and say it and create a completely different person for that jury. Someone who lacked credibility, someone who couldn't be trusted, someone who's a serial liar. But he was hobbled by two things. I think the first thing, which we don't know about, but I suspect, is Todd Blanche has a really nightmarish client named Donald Trump, who probably was in his ear saying, I want you to embarrass him, and I want you to score points right out of the gate. And that actually doesn't make for a good cross-examination, or really for any interrogation of a witness. You don't want to just come in there and decapitate them right out of the gates, which is what he tried to do with Michael Cohen. And Merchan was having none of it. You know, Merchan sustained the objections from the prosecution about how Cohen was being treated, and it went downhill from there.
Well, we discovered in the transcript that's come out now, Adam, in the bench conference about this, that Merchan says something to the effect of, to Todd Blanche, when he stops this, why are you making this about you?
And he says that for a couple of pages, Lawrence. It was, I'm not making it about myself.
Because we're sitting in the audience of the courtroom, and they're having a bench conference. We don't know what they're saying, but we know it's about this. Now we know because we have the transcript.
Absolutely. And it was so jarring. I mean, people heard your opening remarks here, and you talked about how Cohen ended it with a very stirring speech and no further questions. Everyone goes to lunch break, and when they come back from lunch, Todd Blanche gives everyone a shot of espresso with that line. And then objection sustained, sidebar, where the judge asks him, why are you making this about yourself? Your Honor, Ms. Hoffinger says, one at a time, please. I did not hear you, Your Honor. Blanche, in the next page, I'm not making it about myself, Your Honor. I have a right to show this witness's bias, and he expressed bias about lawyers just because of who he represents. The judge at that point says, well, and it's clear, it just goes on for 2 pages in this matter until Merchan tells him, it doesn't matter if he has bias towards you. It doesn't matter. The issue is whether he has bias towards the defendant. And so that was the kind of jarring and kind of hallucinogenic juxtaposition between this stirring ode at the end of direct examination. Suddenly we're at cross-examination where rapid fire, Todd Blanche is tossing Cohen post after Cohen post. And every time he's tossing these statements about Michael Cohen has this refrain, sounds like I said something like that. Right. So I checked the transcript after that. He said, sounds like I said, with something I would say about 5 times to the crying little shit line that you said at the beginning. One calling Trump a dictator douchebag, sounds like something that I would say, says Cohen. Desires to have Trump convicted, sounds like something I would say. Trump, boorish courtroom misogynist, sounds like something I would say.
Cheeto dusted.
That is the last one you anticipated. And it sounds correct. He said that 15 times. So that was just how much material Cohen supplied that with. And just one more point about this, that line that started this cross-examination, Cohen said that Friday. That was the TikTok that got the judge very angry about it.
Right. That's the nutty part of Michael Cohen, but the nutty part did not come in except through his past statements. Adam Klasfeld, the master of our transcripts as they come in here, he's the speed reader. And Adam's in the courtroom with me every day. We're sitting beside each other, except today. I couldn't sit beside Adam, and somehow I survived it. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
What would you like to pay for your hotel room tonight? $185, $169, or $155? Same room, same service, just different prices. It's really up to you. Well, nobody asks you this at reception, but that's exactly what Trivago does. Trivago compares hotel prices from hundreds of booking sites. So, save yourself valuable time and money. Use Trivago, compare hotel prices, and save up to $30 a night. Hotel? Trivago.
I'll be honest. By the end of the day, my floors, yeesh. But who has the time to clean? That's why I love my Swiffer WetJet. It's a quick and easy way to get my floors clean. WetJet absorbs and locks grime deep inside. Look at that. Swiffer WetJet.
I will never again lose to my brother, decided Issa, because I've switched to Consumer Cellular, and now I get the same coverage he's got for up to half the cost. I'm the one who wins. Birds, when freedom calls, we're here to answer.
9 out of 10 people don't get enough fiber. Benefiber is the easy, gentle solution for every day. Its plant-based prebiotic fiber nourishes good bacteria in your gut, working with your body to promote digestive health. With so many ways to enjoy, Benefiber is your fiber, your way.
If you're shopping for a home, Realtor.com's Real Commute tool lets you find homes close to work, school, even grandma's house.
Don't all apps do that?
Not really. Trust the #1 app real estate professionals trust.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's extra strength, high absorption magnesium helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
We're trying to save the planet with nuggets because we need the planet. And we also need nuggets. Impossible. We're solving the meat problem with more meat.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Connect with the provider today at ro.co/20.
Frizz, dryness, breakage. New Dove 10-in-1 Serum Hair Mask with Peptide Complex fortifies hair bonds at a molecular level. Helps reverse 10 signs of damage in 1 minute. Keep living. We'll keep repairing.
The best way to solve a problem is to keep it from happening. At Evernorth, we combine medical and pharmacy data with behavioral health data to identify members in need of care, predicting and treating behavioral health issues quickly while lowering costs for plan sponsors and members. That's Wonder made possible. Evernorth Health Services.
Sometimes Jonah wrestles with falling asleep, so he takes ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, and wakes up feeling like himself. Get the rest to be your best with non-habit-forming ZzzQuil. Better days start with ZzzQuil nights.
Victims of mesothelioma and their families may be entitled to receive a cash award from the estimated $30 billion in asbestos trust funds now available. Over $50 billion has been awarded already. If you have been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by asbestos, call the number on your screen now. We have served victims of mesothelioma and their families nationwide for over 30 years. We have successfully recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for thousands of our clients. Even if a family member has passed due to mesothelioma, you may still be entitled to a cash award. So call now for your free evaluation. We want to help victims of mesothelioma and lung cancer, and your families get the financial compensation you deserve from the estimated $30 billion in trust funds now available. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call 1-800-290-7477 now or visit us at mesofund.com.
More from Michael Cohen's testimony, prosecutor. And during the time when you were personal counsel to the president, did you continue to try to protect him? Answer, yes, ma'am. And during the time that you served as personal counsel to the president, did you continue to lie for him? Answer, yes. Why did you do that? Answer, out of loyalty and in order to protect him. And at the time he was president, is that right? Answer, yes, ma'am. Andrew Weissmann, the prosecution has said we don't have any other witnesses. And, no surprise, that seemed to be where we were. They're done. They've basically made their case. They might come back with a few more questions to Michael Cohen after cross-examination, but it won't be new material. It won't be something we haven't heard before. It might be just something they want us to hear again. So this is the case. This is the case. What do you make of the evidence that we now know will be available to the jurors in that jury room?
So it is, I think, a pretty bold move to end with Michael Cohen. And if you think about the fact that the state had said that there might be two witnesses, Michael and another witness, it does suggest to me that they think it's going well. Because you usually don't end with a witness who may need to be bolstered. Because if you notice in the trial, they've had witness, sort of hard evidence, witness, hard evidence. And that's sort of a wonderful rhythm to have. And here it's just witness. And I think the reason for that is what this witness is doing is narrating something from the state's perspective that we know happened. And you know these conversations happened, and you know this is the story, but you're now just hearing it. You imagine this is what had to have happened from all of the other proof in the case. And I think it is a very strong case. The key issue for the defense is they have to figure out an argument for how is it that Allen Weisselberg and Mr. Cohen both were involved in this scheme. There's no question about that. You can't argue that they weren't. And they have to say that they kept it from Donald Trump, where they had nothing to gain, everything to lose. Donald Trump has already said he admits that he paid the reimbursement to Michael Cohen. And if you were going to try and do that scheme, remember, the way it gets carried out, Donald Trump has to sign the checks. So you're saying, I'm going to not tell him, I'm going to try and carry this out for a year and keep him in the dark. But for a year, he is going to sign checks for not $130,000, but $260,000 from somebody who is a micromanager and a penny pincher, which is also a given in the trial now. He is proud of being a hands-on person and being sort of, counting every single penny. And that you're thinking they were not going to tell him. So I just think that is a very, very hard thing to get a jury to believe when they are going to be instructed to use their common sense.
Tim, we've all seen just a flawlessly attentive jury. In age demographics, one of the youngest juries I've ever seen. You don't have people Donald Trump's age on there, or it looks like there's no retired people on there. I think the oldest person might be approaching 60, maybe. And when I'm sitting there and I hear these things about that Andrew's just said about, what are the odds of Donald Trump not knowing what he's signing for $35,000? I'm saying, I remember the witness who said they were worried about spending $650 without his approval. $650 they were worried about spending. You've studied the business. You've studied the way Allen Weisselberg does things. You've written a book about it. You know that kind of obsessive detail that Donald Trump has been described as having about every expenditure.
And I think, the prosecution was wise when they first laid out all these different passages from Trump's various nonfiction works of fiction, in which he talks about how much he pays attention to every dollar. I'm a micromanager, et cetera, et cetera. In reality, he's a completely horrible manager, but the one thing he pays attention to is the money coming in and the money going out, and in very small amounts to very large amounts. And anything over about $1,000 to him is a very large amount. So there's no way that $130,000 or $150 or $260 or $300 moved out of there without him knowing about it. One person who was with Trump in Brooklyn at one point when Allen Weisselberg was sitting Shiva for a relative in Brooklyn, they arrive at Allen's house, and Trump said, "I'm so happy to see this house." And the other person said, "Why?" And Trump said, "Because it's a garbage house, and that means Allen's not stealing from me." And his view was that Allen Weisselberg would never steal a dime from him. So the other part of this argument, somehow possibly it was just Weisselberg and Michael Cohen doing this independently to steal from Donald Trump, there's no way that has any credibility either. And so I think this jury watches this, and they definitely believe Donald Trump knew what the payments were for. He was authorizing him. We already saw in court today, he signed a majority, I think, of the checks that were paid to Michael Cohen. So I don't think any jury sitting there and thinks that Donald Trump's an innocent bystander. I think they see him as an architect.
We have to squeeze in a break here. When we come back, Adam Klasfeld is going to give us another update from the late-breaking transcript that we just got.
Were you worried the wedding would be too much?
Nah. Another destination wedding? We just got back from our sisters in Napa. Who gets married in Napa? My daughter. Who gets married someplace more expensive? My other daughter! Cancun, Jamaica! Why can't they use my backyard?
With Empower, we get all our financial questions answered, so we don't have to worry.
Can we get out of here?
I thought you'd never ask.
Join 18 million Americans and take control of your financial future with a real-time dashboard and real-live conversations.
Empower. What's next?
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see. I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects may include ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of infection in your legs or feet. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
Feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't at its best. But a little Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil psyllium fiber gels to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down, and also helps lower cholesterol and slows sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. So you can feel lighter and more energetic. Lighten every day the Metamucil way. Feel less sluggish and weighed down after just 14 days. Sign up for the 2-week challenge at Metamucil.com.
Hey there, Brenda.
It's Carol.
Exactly. So which leg are we operating on?
You mean arm?
It's all connected.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future.
Are you sure you're an orthopedist?
Actually, I'm a Sagittarius.
Especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question? Are you a certified financial planner? Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Connect with a provider today at ro.co/20.
Cologuard?
Cologuard.
Cologuard.
Screen for colon cancer.
At home, like you want.
You the man.
Cologuard is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk. False positive and negative results may occur. Ask your provider for Cologuard.
I did it my way.
I love your dress.
Oh, thanks. I splurged a little because Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance and I saved hundreds.
That's great.
I know, right? I've been telling everyone.
Liberty.
Did you hear that? I just said her first word. Can you say mama?
Liberty. Can you say auntie?
Liberty.
How many people did you tell?
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, liberty, liberty. Liberty.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds, and I'm here with Keith, co-star of my upcoming film, If.
Keith! What kind of kid creates an invisible if?
Keith, you want to tell people the big news? Oh, he's the worst. You sign up now, and you'll get unlimited for $15 a month and 6 months of Paramount Plus Essential Plan on us. This is probably your last movie, Keith. Guaranteed. Don't miss If. Only in theaters, May 17th.
If rated PG.
Hi, I'm Michael. I've lost 62 pounds on Golo, and I have kept it off. Most of the weight that I gained was strictly in my belly, which is a sign of insulin resistance. But since Golo, that weight has completely gone away, as you can tell. Thanks to Golo and Release, I've got my life and my health back.
Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun.
Sandals Jamaica sale is now on with rates from $199 per person per night. Visit sandals.com or call 1-800-SANDALS.
Back with us, Andrew Weissman, Adam Klasfeld, and Tim O'Brien. We've got to find a way to put these discussions during the commercial break online so people can see how this continues. Adam, what else should we know from the transcript?
Well, one of the things that came strikingly evident, and we were talking yesterday about how the fact that the Trump theory of the case relies upon, because of Hope Hicks' testimony, the idea that Michael Cohen was a selfless, giving actor up until 2018 because Hope Hicks' testimony was that Trump's story that Cohen was acting on his own, he was freelancing, doesn't make sense because Cohen wasn't a selfless person. So
that was Hope Hicks saying he's not that kind of guy. He wouldn't do this on his own.
And Todd Blanche expertly reinforced the fact that Michael Cohen is not that kind of guy. And here was one of those moments. And this was a new detail, at least for me today. I don't recall hearing this. The first meeting of the Manhattan prosecutors with Michael Cohen in Otisville.
In the prison that he's in.
In the prison that he's in.
New York.
Exactly. He's asked by Blanche, do you recall one of the things you wanted to talk to the prosecutors about when you were in Otisville was the benefit was to you for meeting with them, right? I did ask that, Cohen says. And you told them that you had been screwed over by the system, correct? I did not know if that's the language that I used, but that sounds correct. Another of those sounds correct answers that Michael Cohen had. And there's another moment where Michael Cohen, and we remember all of it, I think you remarked that Michael Cohen sounded temperate. We've been talking about how even-keeled his testimony and delivery was. All of a sudden, cross-examination, it gets a little bit more contentious. And he's asked about something that he has fully admitted he's lied about, the Trump Tower meeting. This is what he pleaded guilty.
And his lie was simply the number of times he talked to Donald Trump about it. He says, I actually talked to him about it 10 times. And for some strange reason, he told FBI agents that he talked about it about 3 times, and that was in the investigation you started, and that ended up being part of the criminal prosecution of him.
Yeah, well, there was a little bit more to it. He really wanted to distance Donald Trump from that, including the timing of it. And so it was both the number of times he talked to him and also when he talked to him. And because he wanted to sort of remove this as an issue from the campaign. And that turned out to be false. And he pled guilty to it. Right. By the way, that's one where he had no benefit to lie other than to help Donald Trump.
Yeah,
you can't in a million years think of a reason for his lying that wasn't about Donald Trump.
And you have repeatedly made the point that Michael Cohen is always looking to get paid back or rewarded for whatever he's done.
Well, that was such a theme in the direct, which was, why did you report this to Donald Trump? And it was not just, look, he's my boss, I have to tell him I have to keep my prize, but he wanted credit. He wanted Donald Trump to know the thing that he had assigned to him, he had done. And that sense of not just doing a good job, but just how much it meant to him to have I felt like I was on top of the world when Donald Trump said, that's great. And you just got the sense that it's like a rat with a pellet. You know, he wanted that incoming approval.
An hour's not enough. We're going to have to leave it right there. Andrew Weissmann, Adam Klasfeld, Tim O'Brien, thank you very much for joining us for this important discussion tonight. We will be right back.
Right now, pet dander, skin cells, and dirt are settling deep into your carpet fibers. Stanley Steamer removes the dirt you see and the dirt you don't. Your carpets aren't clean until they're Stanley Steamer clean.
Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner.
My mental health was better, but uncontrollable movements called TD, tardive dyskinesia, started disrupting my day.
TD felt embarrassing. I felt like disconnecting. I asked my doctor about treating my TD and learned about Ingrezza.
Ingrezza is clinically proven for reducing TD. Most people saw results in just 2 weeks. People taking Ingrezza can stay on most mental health meds. Only #1 prescribed Ingrezza has simple dosing for TD. Always 1 pill once daily. Ingrezza can cause depression, suicidal thoughts, or actions in patients with Huntington's disease. Pay close attention to and call your doctor if you become depressed, have sudden changes in mood, behaviors, feelings, or have thoughts of suicide. Don't take Ingrezza if you're allergic to its ingredients. Ingrezza may cause serious side effects including angioedema, potential heart rhythm problems, and abnormal movements. Report fevers, stiff muscles, or problems thinking, as these may be life-threatening. Sleepiness is the most common side effect.
Take control by asking your doctor about Ingrezza.
Hi, I'm Tony Hawk, and like many of you, I take a statin to reduce cholesterol. But statins can also deplete CoQ10 levels. That's why my doctor recommended Cunol CoQ10. Cunol has the #1 cardiologist-recommended form of CoQ10. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Nothing dims my light like a migraine. With Nurtec ODT, I found relief.
The only migraine medication that helps treat and prevent all in one.
To those with migraine, I see you.
For the acute treatment of migraine with or without aura and the preventive treatment of episodic migraine in adults. Don't take if allergic to Nurtec ODT. Allergic reactions can occur even days after using. Most common side effects were nausea, indigestion, and stomach pain.
It's time we all shine. Talk to a healthcare provider about Nurtec ODT from Pfizer.
Let's get the rest of these plants in.
Organic soil from Miracle Grow has grown me the best garden I have ever had.
Good soil, and you get good results.
This soil will blow you away. It's the Martha Stewart of soil.
Doctors recommend Colay stool softener for gentle, dependable relief from constipation. It's so gentle, doctors even recommend it during pregnancy and after surgery. Colay's increases water in the stool, making it softer so it's easier to go. No harsh laxatives, cramping or straining. Colay's.
Need to get your windshield fixed? SafeLight makes it easy. You can schedule in just a few clicks, and we'll come to you with the replacement you can trust.
Schedule free mobile service now at safelight.com.
SafeLight Repair, SafeLight Replace.
Let's get started.
Bill, where's your mask?
I really tried sleeping with it, everybody. Now I sleep with Inspire.
Inspire? No mask?
Just sleep.
Learn more and view important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can it keep me warm when I'm cold?
Wait, no, I'm always hot.
Sleep Number does that. Now save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, plus 0% interest for 36 months. Shop now at sleepnumber.com.
Sleepy, headaches, dry skin? You're probably dehydrated. Try Liquid Labs Rapid Hydration. It's packed with all 5 essential electrolytes, tastes amazing, and way less sugar than sports drinks. Rehydrate and feel better with Liquid Labs. Grab Liquid Labs in the Walmart vitamin aisle today.
When I started college, so many people warned me about credit cards. They just seemed really scary. When I needed a car, I realized that I needed to build credit, so I got the Chime.
Donald Trump's defense team is trying to paint him as motivated by revenge and money. Plus, what the former president's entourage said outside the courtroom. Then President Biden announces new tariffs, what it means for the economy and the campaign. And January 6th takes center stage in tonight's primaries. An officer who protected the Capitol and a convicted rioter are both on the ballot as the 11th hour gets underway on this Tuesday night. Good evening once again. I'm Stephanie Ruhle, live from Washington, D.C., and we are now 175 days away from the election. And today at Donald Trump's criminal trial in New York, defense attorneys got their chance to go after Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen. The defense tried to portray Cohen as obsessed with the desire for revenge against Donald Trump himself. Here's my colleague Laura Jarrett with more.
Tonight, Donald Trump's defense team tearing into the prosecution's star witness, suggesting Mr. Trump's self-described fixer turned fierce Trump critic, Michael Cohen, is out for revenge on his former boss. Do you want President Trump to get convicted in this case? Trump attorney Todd Blanche asking. Sure, Cohen acknowledged. Cohen confirming he recently said the former president belongs in a cage, like an animal. The defense trying to cast Cohen as motivated to lie, that he previously fed prosecutors dirt on Mr. Trump to get out of prison early, and that now his financial livelihood, including media appearances and podcasts, centers on trashing Mr. Trump. Cohen acknowledging he's made more than $3 million off his books Disloyal and Revenge, and that he had been going on TikTok 6 days a week to slam his former boss to paid subscribers. Saying of his past praise of Mr. Trump, quote, "At that time, I was knee-deep into the cult of Donald Trump." The defense getting Cohen to admit he previously described himself as obsessed with Mr. Trump, insinuating he was jilted once pushed outside the Trump orbit. The state's case largely depending on jurors believing Cohen's word, as he's the only witness who said the former president knew his internal records were falsified to cover up Cohen's payment of an adult film actress before the 2016 election.